a few fights I wanted to talk about from your career then. Start off with that Jamie Moore clash, obviously one which many will remember, a brilliant dust-up between the pair of you. What's your memories of it, your recollection of that entire fight?
Uh, I remember I was far too fired up. I was so fired up. I was boxing in Salford. I had less than 50 tickets. It really was the Lions Den. It was a cauldron. It was the end of September. It was a hot day, and the heat in there was unreal. But I remember walking to the gym and walking to the ring, and it was like I was in a trance. It was like I was hypnotised. I was so fired up. There was a moment in the commentary where Jim White says Macklin's like a man possessed, and I was like a man possessed. It was like I was just going through the pain. I was just going through the fatigue. I remember sitting down at the end of the third round. Obviously, I started way too quick, wasting so much energy, loading up, going at a ridiculous pace. And then I remember sitting down at the end of the third round thinking, this is the most tired I have ever been. How am I going to get through these 9 rounds? And, that includes, like the week before, I did 15 rounds on this body belt with Billy Graham, where you empty the tank. It's like a dress rehearsal for your fitness. And I was I felt more tired after those 3 rounds than I did after those 15. I felt like I was done. I was spent. I don't know how I fought for another 7 rounds. Well, I know, just desire. I think I was just denying. I was in denial about how tired I was. It was like I was refusing to accept the fatigue, and that mentally I was pushing past it, but physically I was gassed. And then, to be honest, the fight's a blur. Really, after that, it's just because I was just on autopilot. I was just digging in. Just digging in. What shots were getting thrown? I couldn't even tell you. I don't remember any of them. It was I just remember just digging in. Just digging in, and just refusing to accept that I was as tired as I was, and I just kept going. But I think that was because where I'd gone in my mind for the 10 weeks, how fit I was, how much I visualised it and dreamt about it and gone there in my mind, that I think the subconscious, let's talk spiritually, just took over and took me through it. But consciously, I can't. After the third fight, it's a blur. I was just on autopilot, just digging in.
Another fight I just wanted to go back over, Matt, you briefly touched on it earlier, you felt you won it, and many people will agree with that. The Felix Sturm fight. What's your recollection of that again? Have you watched it back then? Did you watch it back? What do you remember from the entire experience and the fight itself?
So, apart from the decision, it was just a fantastic experience. All of it. I remember when they announced the fight, I went over there to Germany and I started speaking a bit of German in the press conference, and they were blown away. I hadn't spoken German since my A-levels, but they were kind of chuffed with that. And I was surprised how much came back once I started speaking it. Trained really well for the fight. Left no stone unturned. Really, really couldn't have gone any better. No injuries. Went over there, enjoyed the whole week in Germany. The build-up, all of it was super confident. I remember walking to the ring and I remember thinking, I wouldn't have cared if King Kong was in the corner. I felt invincible. I felt I was just, because I believed I was a better fighter. I believed that the tactics and the game plan, that I was going to beat him. And it just didn't matter to me. I wasn't bothered. And he kept me waiting for about 15 minutes in the ring, but I didn't give a shit. I wasn't bothered. I remember doing the pads with Gallagher while he was walking to the ring. But obviously the decision was a shocker. But but then in the press conference after, I remember Brian Peters saying, he just said, look, I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to read out a few tweets. And he read out tweets from Al Bernstein and Lennox Lewis and Andre Ward and, the whole who's who of the boxing world. And it was just universally, outraged at the decision. And that made me feel a lot better. The press conference was quite a big thing. He was a big star over there, and he didn't say a word. You know, he knew he got beat. He knew. And then when I got back to the hotel, we got pulled up in the car, and so the hotel was literally, there was, I think, 500 people about came from, you know, England, Ireland to the fight. And when we pulled up, that every single one of them was outside with the sky cameras, and they're all cheering. It was like I won. Well, you know, they were celebrating when I came back. It was like we come back to the winning hotel, and I was disappointed, and a bit angry. But that had gone off me a little bit, to be honest, over the press conference. And I trained so hard for the fight for so long. I thought, you know what? It's the decision's out of my hands. There's no point getting stressed. Everyone's come over to support me. Let's have a good night. And we did, really. And then the next day, I went even further. The next day, I had a great day. You know, on the night, I went back. I did enjoy it at the hotel. I talked to everyone, and, you know, I enjoyed it. I was proud of my performance. I was proud of the game plan. I'm proud that we executed it. We're not in control of the decision. You know, we can't control that. So I enjoyed it. It was a great night. Next day, but overall, like I say, bar the decision, Germany was probably maybe my best experience in professional boxing. Right up there. And Wayne Alcock was a great night in Birmingham. That was hard to beat. With Birmingham was local, you know, pride. And, you know, I had won a British title up to that point. Yeah, I'd been pro 8 years, and it was like, you know, it's almost like a relief. I got over that line. But no, look, Madison Square Garden was fantastic. You fight the pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. It was St Patrick's Day. It was sold out. You know what I mean? That's up there. And the Sturm one by the decision.
Let's talk about Triple G and that fight. Obviously, you know, everybody has seen Golovkin as one of their pound for pound contenders for many years, and one of the stars in the boxing world. Again, what was it like being in the ring with somebody who, for many years, once again, he's been considered one of the toughest and the hardest punchers in the sport?
Listen, he's a great fighter, and I knew he was a great fighter. I knew he was a great fighter before. Most people knew, like I say, he won the gold medal back in 2000 in Budapest, the weight below me, and got best boxer of the tournament. So I knew he was a standout kid. And I actually thought maybe I'd pass across as amateurs, and they never did. But when he started making waves in Germany, you know, I knew who he was, you know, so I was watching out for him. And obviously, again, you think he's someone you don't really want to fight. But if it's a European title or a world title, that's different. Then, you know, you want to be the best. You have to fight the best, but it's certainly not someone you're going to look to fight in the early days. So when he was looking to crack America, it was a case of, I remember no one wanted to fight him. But it was one of those with him. Everyone within boxing knew who he was. You know, he went down to the wild card and he stood people on their head. Chavez, he'd done them all. So no one wanted to fight him. You know, the word was out. But you're talking the hardcore boxing people knew that they didn't want to fight him. Joe Public didn't know who he was. So it was difficult for people to fight because he wasn't generating a lot of money. HBO, it was an investment. You know, he's a Kazakhstan guy who doesn't speak English. He's an investment for them. Now, he looked the business. He thought Gregor's Proxer looked good. For Rosado looked good. But, you know, these weren't guys that they could really launch him as the superstar that people were hearing who he was. You know, he had to beat someone significant. So when I lost to Sergio Martinez, I had a comeback fight. I beat a guy called Joaquin Marcin, who was former world champion and was actually coming off a win against David Lemieux. So that was a risky fight. I fought him in Las Vegas at the Thomas and Mack on the Chavez Sergio Martinez card and knocked him out in a round. And then I was out the ring then. I was meant to fight Andy Lee in the May. That never happened. So then me and Golovkin, I mentioned me and Golovkin in the June. Now, Mayweather had just signed with Showtime. So HBO were like, needed something big. So this guy who they're investing in, who they're hearing is going to be this superstar, but they can't really announce him as that because he's only beaten Rosado and Proxer, who aren't really top fighters, you know, good fighters, but they weren't, you know, considered top 10 or certainly not top 5. So where I was in a situation where not too many people wanted to fight me because I wasn't as high risk as a Golovkin, but at least Golovkin's world champion, where to fight me, you know, I'd lost I'd lost a few times. I think I'd had 4 losses on my record at that point. Obviously, the 2 early on Facey and Ball, but of course, Sturm and Martinez. Now they weren't bad losses. Like there was the Martinez one was a close fight right up to the end. And Felix Sturm, everyone thought I won. So, but nonetheless, I'd lost 4. I was, I wasn't really bringing much to the party, so to speak. So it was. But Golovkin, no one wanted to fight him. So when I kind of showed a willingness to fight him, because there was a guy on Twitter calling the fight, so I said I'll fight him. Kind of the end of the year. So stick us on this June show that they were on about as like a co-feature, and we'll sign and fight. September, October. So anyway, once that happened, once they knew there was a willingness on my part to fight him, eventually they locked on and wanted to make it for the June, which I didn't want because I'd only had that one round in 15 months. But anyway, back and forth, negotiations happened, and they made me a really good offer financially. And the case at that point, I was 31. I knew it was a really difficult fight going in. I knew, he'd had 2 fights that year. I'd had 1 round in 15 months, but it was a lot of money. I was 31. It was a world title shot. I wasn't really there weren't going to be too many people queuing up to fight me. Like I said, the Andi Lee fight hadn't materialised, and it was a business decision more so than a boxing decision. It was. I was at the business end of my career. When these paydays come along, I didn't even know how. I wasn't probably in love with the sport anymore. I'm honest. So looking back, I wasn't in love with it then. It was more, the financial aspect was a much bigger part of the decision-making process than it would have been a few years earlier. A few years earlier, it was boxing decisions. It was glory, how getting to the top. Financial was second, because I believed that was going to come anyway. But at this point in my career, the financial aspect was definitely a big part of the decision-making process. So we agreed to fight. And I trained for the fight. And in Spain, I did about 5 weeks. I did a bit of sparring, a couple of weeks sparring there with a guy called Ruben Bron, who had fought. Went out to New York, and on the second day, we did a bit of pads with Buddy, and I split all my knuckles on the mitts with him, right to the bone, which is something I've done with the Martinez fight, actually. But the Martinez fight happened a couple of weeks out, and it was Madison Square Garden, it was St. Patrick's Day. He was looking to move on, and I wasn't going to get the shot again, so I went ahead with the fight. Now, with Golovkin, I wanted to pull out because I thought no one wanted to fight him anyway. Let's put the fight back. But they were insistent that the fight couldn't be put back. And officially, they said to Brian Peters, look, he's not fit to fight, then, he's not fit to fight. But unofficially, they said to him, if he doesn't fight Gennady Golovkin on that date, he will never box on HBO again. What are you going to do? So then, obviously, me and Brian talked it out. And in the end, I said to him, well, what do you think, Brian? And he said, we'll put it this way. From a career point of view and everything point of view, he said, I think that you're better off going ahead with the fight and losing than not going ahead with the fight. So, obviously, under those situations, those circumstances, you're not. I mean, I was up against it anyway. I'd had the 1 round in 15 months, but now it's more difficult, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So we got through the camp with the spar. We got through it. We nursed the hand and we got through it. But I certainly wasn't where I thought I would be when we agreed the fight. When we agreed the fight, I was very much like, listen, he hasn't been to the trenches yet. He's had it all his own way because he's so good, but he's had it all his own way. I've been in wars. Get out there, stick it on him, drag him into a war. Don't even think about 12 rounds. Just think of it as a 6-round fight. Throw all your eggs in one basket and let's go for it. But by the time that had happened, and Buddy didn't really want to see the fight, didn't see the fight that way. Buddy was like, nah, box, move to your right, make him reach for you. But that was the wrong thing. That was the wrong advice, really. That maybe Buddy could have done that with him, but I couldn't. I couldn't outbox. I wasn't good enough boxing on the outside against someone like Golovkin, who was so good at range. Listen, I probably wouldn't have beaten him no matter what I did. But I remember thinking 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to beat me because he's a better fighter. I was a realist. But I only have to make it that one time. And if I drag him into a war, if I jump out and just set an unsustainable pace and just go for it like a Hagler Hearns, I might get lucky. and catch him off guard, and he might not expect it. But with the hands getting done, and HBO kind of, you know, basically not bullying me into the fight, but you know, cutting off my options, saying that it was that, or you know, you won't be on HBO again. There, I remember my head and my heart wasn't where it should have been going into the fight. So I remember losing, and to get stopped the way I did, you know, it hurt my pride badly, and the way the fight materialised, it left a bad taste in my mouth. And I think if I hadn't agreed the fight, if my next fight hadn't already been agreed and was on HBO and it's for good money, I don't think I would have boxed after that, because I felt a bit disgusted with a lot of things and certain people and that. But I did, and I had the fight, and I got a win. And then all of a sudden, you're back. Boxing's like, you know, it doesn't let you go. It pulls you back in, and then, you know, then there's talk of the Sturm rematch. I'm thinking, well, you know, he's in a similar stage in his career where, you know, he's older than me. He's got more miles on the clock than me, and you know what I mean. That's a fight. Yeah, I can get up for that one. I didn't want to fight any young guys coming through that were hungry, but someone like Sturm, definitely. And I suppose you're thinking about cashing out, and you're thinking about your exit strategy, and you're thinking about, you know, I'm not sure I've got the passion and the buzz and the love anymore, but I'm not sure I want to retire either, because once I retire, I don't want to come back. So you're kind of hanging in there, and you've worked so hard your whole career to get to a point, and now you're up there, you're on HBO, you're fighting for world titles, and you're earning good money. You know what I mean? You don't want to suddenly close that door, and you know, unless you got something, unless you're really ready. And I wasn't in love with the sport anymore, but I wasn't ready to retire either. So, like I say, it keeps you back in there a little bit, boxing. But I've probably waffled on about a million different tangents now since the start of the question. I don't even know where I'm going with this conversation now. But I think you asked me about Golovkin. Yeah, he was a great fighter, and I knew he'd be a legend, which he already is, and I'm proud to have shared a ring with him. And I'm proud to have shared a ring with him when he was not only at his peak, but he was even better than at his peak, because he was at his peak and he was starving hungry. And actually, and you know, I wasn't. I was where I was in my career, but listen, even he was at my best, he was a better fighter. End of. I was at the stage in my career where where money was probably the biggest factor. It was in the decision-making process, where early on, when I fought Jamie Moore, I didn't give a shit about the money. I got 18 grand when I fought Jamie Moore. Now, I could have got more, wouldn't have gone, but I didn't care. I was scared that he was going to vacate and move on, and I wanted to fight. You know what I mean? I didn't care. I remember Brian Peters ringing me and saying, you know, I was like, I don't care. I didn't care about the money, because whether I was getting 18 grand or 25 grand or 30 grand, who cares really in the scheme of your life? I'm not going to be a millionaire over this fight. So I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be world champion and fight in Vegas and New York, and that's what I was aiming for. So I didn't care about money at that stage of my career. It was all about the fights, the performance, the career path, you know. But at this point, when I fought Golovkin, I'm 31 years old. I've had a lot of hard fights, and I've had a lot of hardships in boxing, setbacks, injuries, disappointments, hard training camps, loneliness for 10 or 12 weeks. I didn't want to really do it anymore. But I'm at a point in my career where I'm at that world level. I've trained and dreamt to be here. Now I'm here. You know, now you're talking, you're up near the 7 figures type of thing person, or just shy of. You know, these are life-changing lumps of money. At 31 years old, I'm moving to retirement, buy some property. I can set myself up. So, you know, the financials at that point was a big part of the decision-making process, where earlier on, it was all about boxing. It was all about the glory. It was all about the career path. So I don't regret taking the Golovkin fight. If I had that, I was in the same position a million times. I'd make the same decision, because it was the right thing to do from a business point of view. And I was at the business end of my career, you know. So it's and then after that, really, after the Golovkin fight, I had that fight with HBO. Really, then it was about hanging in there, I suppose, and seeing what I can get out of the sport. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't I'm not saying I didn't have days where I was buzzing. I did have days where I was buzzing, but it was less and less and less, and the money side of things was more and more and more, you know. And then I think after the Highland loss in Dublin, I was going to retire. And then when I came back for those few fights, it was really just about the exit strategy there. You know, I knew it could have been any fight. It was just getting the... It was the exit strategy that was important then. Going out on a note that I was happy with. And that didn't have to be a win. That could have been a loss in a big fight against a good fighter, and I was happy with the performance. So, you know, as it worked out, I wasn't really happy with the performance with Brian Rose, but I got the win, and I had a few wins. Even the Wellman one, wasn't happy with the performance, but I got the win. And so I retired on the 4-fight winning streak, but I didn't perform in any of them, you know. And I remember thinking, well, I didn't perform well in that one because of this, and I didn't perform well in that one because of that, and I didn't perform well in the next one because of this. And there was definitely, without making excuses, there was a certain amount of plausibility and truth behind all those reasons. But nonetheless, and this is what made the decision for me, nonetheless, I haven't performed well for a few years now. So the likelihood is it's just not there anymore. You know, and I think it's difficult to accept that, because your mind plays tricks on you within boxing, you know. Because like you say, there's a million variables, there's so many factors, and it could have been this and it could have been that. But bottom line is, whatever the reason, after 3 years, if you haven't performed well, that's probably it. You're probably not going to perform well for whatever reason. There's probably always going to be a reason. You know, you're 30 odd now, your body is going to be injured. Do you know what I mean? And you're not going to spar well, because if you do spar well, you're probably going to be injured. You can't fight anyway. So it's just getting to that point where, you know, it'd been a 15-year career. It'd been a long career. I've done really well out of the game in the end, financially. Had some big paydays at the end of the career, life-changing money that I could invest and be, you know, okay, set up for the rest of my life. And then it was just finding that exit strategy so that I was happy, you know, to go out and not to come back. And then it's kind of finding, you know, peace and satisfaction with your career, and to be happy and grateful for it, and then finding purpose after boxing. And if you can find purpose within boxing, great. Because you know, when I retired from boxing, I wasn't in love with boxing, but I'm in love with boxing now. You know, when I'm commentating on the fights now, I love those fights. Like, I get excited watching a British title fight. I get excited watching Conor Benn. You know, these are fights I can't wait to watch these guys fight, where at the end of my own career, outside of the top 5 of my own weight, I didn't care. You know, I'd lost love. I wasn't reading the boxing news. I didn't watch boxing on the television. I didn't keep up with what was happening because I was tired. Do you know what I mean? I was tired with boxing. I was tired of hotels and accommodate. You know, I was tired walking around city centres, killing the day, having a coffee on my own. I was sick of it. But now, I love boxing again now. I'm back passionate boxing now, like I was when I turned professional.
There's not really much to talk about with boxing at the minute. The only thing being behind closed doors shows being discussed. What are your thoughts on it? Is it something you're interested in?
Yeah, of course, because we just want to get back there ASAP, don't we? I mean, it won't be the same, but I think the UFC thing the other night worked. You know, it worked. It got good. I think. Look, I think when the fights come back behind closed doors, I'm guessing it'll do good numbers on the TV ratings and pay-per-views, etc. Because, you know, people are dying for sport. They want entertainment. So we just want to get back there ASAP. And you're not going to start in 5th gear where we left off, where there were shows every week and we had this unbelievable schedule coming up. It's going to be slow, but I think the quicker we get back out there, you know, obviously it has to be safe for everyone involved, but the quicker we get back out there with whatever level of a show, you know, the quicker we get this ball rolling, we get this, you know, things moving again.
Matt, we will leave that there, and I will leave you now to enjoy the rest of your evening and have a well-deserved break from listening to a fellow Brummie's voice. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you, Matt. Stay safe, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon. Thank you, Speak to Boxing Social.
Cheers.